in. If you see it, just let me know and I'll announce them and we'll record the time. Okay.
All right, we're live.
All right, thank you very much, Larry. Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. I'm calling the Common Council Committee for the Public Works to order at 7:02. With us today, we have George Theodoridis, myself, Barbara Smith, Tom Keegan, Manny Langella, sorry, Manny, Tom Livingston, and that is all that I can see. Okay.
Hey, George, I'm actually here too.
All right, and George Theodoridis, let the record show. All right, so let's get ready to start. First off, public input. Larry, do we have anybody that wrote or called in waiting to talk?
I don't know, Monique or Vanessa, if you know if anyone wrote in, but we do have one person raising their hand, Diane Lauricella.
Yes.
Also, we have Mrs. Anderson that he would like to speak at the beginning as well.
Sure.
Yes,
Good
can I
evening.
start?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Josephine Fulcher Anderson. I'm the widow of the late Fire Chief Sanford Anderson, and I'm asking that a street be named in honor of him. The streets or the intersection between Concord and Washington Street and Raymond and Washington Street. The reason for this request is it would be a great honor for not only the family, but the children and his children and grandchildren and the community to see that a man can come from Washington Village, a project, and be elevated to the fire chief. So I hope you all give it great consideration that his name be placed on those two intersections.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Good to see you again. Okay, and Larry, you said we also had Diane Lauricella on, correct?
Yes, Diane.
Yes, good evening. Diane Lauricella, for the record. First of all, I just wanted to agree with Mrs. Anderson. One reason I wanted to speak tonight before I move on to other things is because I knew Sandy. I used to help with some hazardous waste work. And I worked with Sandy and also got to know him a little bit. I think it would be a great honor, and I wholeheartedly support the council considering the name, the honorary name for Water Street. The reason I'm speaking briefly tonight is that under discussion items for the solid waste report, I had some missed signals in that last week I broke my arm. So I know that Jessica and I have been in contact to talk about setting up some discussions about unit pricing or pay as you throw, which is not a new construct in the world of waste management. It is, some feel, the way of the future. And since we have, unfortunately, I look forward to hearing Jessica's report because I asked the DEEP people to directly get in touch with either Jessica or Anthony it doesn't look like they are going to be on the agenda tonight, but I do encourage this council to have a discussion, a deep discussion about pay as you throw or unit pricing, because it's also known as the SMART program. It's just, these are acronyms, because number one, we're getting ready to develop our budget for the 21-22 season. Number two, the state DEEP has declared that we are in a waste management crisis, especially due to the fact that the Hartford garbage to energy plant is beyond its useful life, and Bridgeport's will soon follow. The DEEP has finally revealed and reviewed that we need to have an overall holistic look at what we do to reduce our waste streams, not just recycle, but first to educate the public as well as municipalities. So they have formed the Connecticut Coalition for Sustainable Material Management. And I am very pleased, I hope this will be the case, that someone from our city, I offered this to the mayor and Anthony, and my understanding is that Jessica will be in contact with this new group that is based upon municipalities. The DEEP is actually gathering together municipalities from all over the state to take a look and quickly decide which legislative bills must be put together to support the towns. But lastly, I just want to say other good news about waste management. Western Connecticut COG, or the Council of Governments, has received funding to also assist municipalities in the Western area about waste management plans and looking at it more holistically and progressively. Because it is the budget making time in Norwalk, I think we need to have this discussion sooner rather than later. And my little ad hoc group called the Norwalk Zero Waste Coalition is very pleased to find that zero waste is not, again, a mythological construct. It is what is being discussed in the professional waste management circles now. Zero waste is a goal. But what we must do is to begin to plan for reducing the high cost of waste management in our city. And that includes robust discussion and training of all, including businesses and citizens, about how to reduce, reuse, repair, and there are a lot of other R's that come before recycling. So I thank you for your time and I look forward to listening to that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, Monique, do we have anybody else that's on the line or called in or wrote in?
No, I don't have anything. No emails or anything like that.
Okay, and I see no other attendees. So seeing none and hearing that there are no other letters, I will close public input now. And we can move on to new business. First item, approval of the minutes. Approve the minutes of the Public Works Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. Would anyone like to move the item? So moved by Mr. Livingston. All in favor? I can't see everyone. Let me change my screen a little bit. Let me see. Trying to make this go quicker by just looking around. So Tom, Darlene, let the record show Ms. Young has just joined us and she voted yes. It looks unanimous. Great. Item number 2. Acknowledge the receipt of the modified request for the honorary naming of a portion of Water Street from the intersection of Raymond Street to the intersection of Concord Street to Fire Chief Anderson Drive. Everyone I know is familiar with this. We voted on it last month. We were supposed to go to public hearing. Just a quick brief on this. We expanded the distance of the honorary naming. We have Anthony here and Vanessa, if anybody has any questions or wants to make any comments. First off, would somebody like to move the item? Mr. Keegan, thank you very much. Mr. Keegan moved the item. Any questions? Mr. Livingston?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. I'm just curious what was the impetus to the extension of the street?
Well, Anthony, I know you're ready to go. I see you. We just decided to cover more of the Washington Village area. Again, like Ms. Anderson stated, they grew up there, was a longtime resident there. We felt it more adequate to incorporate more of that portion of Washington Village. Anthony?
Right, and the original request was only for the Raymond and Water Street intersection, Tom. But
Okay.
the reason why the scope was expanded was because the requester, along with speaking with the mayor's office, speaking with the committee prior to this, the original request that Ms. Anderson wanted was from Washington to Byrd. And that was a very long segment of roadway. So we had contacted the applicant and the requester, and we had additional dialogue, and we felt it was more appropriate to name the street segment where the former Fire Chief Anderson resided, where he did a lot of the work, which was the Washington Village area. So then we narrowed it down. we wanted to expand the original request, but not have the request so far extending from Washington to Bury.
Gotcha.
So we felt that Concord to Raymond was more appropriate given the requester's history.
Tom, I just want to add that Mrs. Anderson contacted us after the last meeting, and she asked us to withdraw what we have asked and then reapply with the longer section. So actually, she was the one, and there is an email in your package stating that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I don't see any hands. If I miss a hand, please speak up because I don't always see you. Seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Once again, seems unanimous. Fantastic. Again, congratulations to Ms. Anderson. I'm really happy that this is going through. I know it's going to do well in the public hearing as well. Item number 3, schedule the public hearing for the honorary naming of the portion of Water Street from the intersection of Raymond Street to the intersection of Concord Street to Fire Chief Anderson Drive. The public hearing should be conducted in order to hear all parties interested in commenting on the proposed honorary street naming and to take such action on said naming that the committee may deem advisable. The public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. by the way of video conference or teleconference. Would anybody like to move that item? Wow, Ms. Smith, sorry, hand go. Thank you very much. We all know what this is about, so I'm just going to put it to a vote unless there's some questions. All in favor?
I just have I have a question, Chairman.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know if Ms. Anderson was okay with the stretch of street that is proposed to be named after her husband. You were contacted and in agreement with that, correct?
I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything, but yes.
Yes,
I don't know if I
Mrs.
can.
Young. So just to give a feedback to the committee, Paul Sotnick and myself, we had a long conversation by phone, plus we exchanged a couple of emails. And also there's another email in your package confirming that. So she's in agreement that we're gonna name the 2 intersections. So the stretch between the 2 streets will be honorary name after him.
Yeah, I think the additional road, the additional street does make sense. And it's good to see that. Okay, so all in favor of the public hearing? Once again, seems unanimous. Thank you very much. Item number 4, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a sole source purchase order to Cargill Salt Road Safety for treated road salt for snow and ice control, pricing not to exceed $82 per ton for normal and after hour deliveries effective for the 2020-2021 winter season. Wow, that one was a mouthful. Sorry about that. Would anybody like to move, account noted. Would anybody like to move that item? Thank you, Manny. Before I pass it on, this is what we do standard every year. We have either Anthony or Chris Torrey on the line that could tell you a little bit more about it, but this product's what we've been using for the past couple of years. It's not your standard salt. He'll get into the details more. It stays on the road. It doesn't spill off and wash away as much as standard salt would. The price is the same as we've been paying the past year. And from that point on, any questions for Anthony? Any questions for Chris? All right, you guys want to just say a little bit about it, just so everybody knows? Again, we've had this every year and we've been really lucky and happy with it, but just so the new members know.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. And Chris, please feel free to jump in if I miss anything. So this product is kind of a special blend that meets City of Norwalk specifications over many years. I believe we've been using this for at least 5+ seasons. What makes this rock salt unique is that it has a liquid application of magnesium chloride and xanthan gum. So without getting into the deep science and the chemical engineering behind them, what the magnesium chloride does, it allows the melting at lower temperatures, and the liquid of the magnesium chloride plus the binder agent, which is that xanthan gum, if you read the memo, which is kind of easy to remember, it's a gummy substance that binds the rock salt together. So what the magnesium chloride does, it allows the salt to work at lower temperatures. And the fact that the rock salt is sprayed with the liquid magnesium chloride and also has that binding agent, that xanthan gum, when the salt comes out of the spreader, usually when you're plowing, you drop salt in the middle of the road or the crown of the road, right? And what that material does is it allows the rock salt to not bounce and scatter as cars are passing or other vehicles are passing by. So it allows the salt to work its way from the top of the road or the middle of the road to the edges versus untreated rock salt, which oftentimes, if you even see the spreader doing it, sometimes certain municipalities, it'll bounce off and you'll see it go right to the gutter line, and it's almost 30 to 60% waste of salt. So the xanthan gum is a binding agent that is used in lieu of molasses, which is what some companies use. And the problem with the molasses is it gets sticky, and it prohibits our trucks from preloading and increases the response time, meaning that if you use the molasses, the truck has to stay empty. The loader has to take the salt out of the shed, put it in the truck, and then it goes. Because the reason being is if you leave the molasses indoors, it gets hot, it gets sticky, and it also creates clumping when you're trying to spread the salt onto the road. So that's why the xanthan gum is very important. It takes the place of the molasses, keeps the salt together, reduces the bounce and the scatter, and you could leave the trucks in the warm garage ready to go, preloaded, so that when they need to be deployed, we're not wasting additional time loading into the truck. So it's a specification that Chris worked on specifically with the manufacturer, and it's very effective, and it's something I wish we had in White Plains when I was there.
Okay, seeing that there were no other questions, I'll put it to a vote. All in favor? And great, passes unanimously. Item number 5, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Gabrielli Truck Sales, Milford, Connecticut, for the purchase of one 2020 Ford Super Duty F-250 XL regular cab for a price not to exceed $39,799. Would anyone like to move that item? Thank you, Tom. Livingston. Any questions or discussion? Mr. Livingston.
Sorry. There are a couple trucks on this. I see this one is, a Ford 250, and then we have a Ford 550, I think. Maybe I'm wrong on this.
Yes.
3 of them. Who are these trucks for? I mean, I see one's white, some are green, I think it is.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, if I could, before I turn over to Mr. Yosak, if he's on the line, because I have my phone, I can't see who's on there. So this specific Ford 250 is a replacement truck for TMP's traffic signal supervisor, Amy Tabor, who is currently using a very, 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 very old public works operations pickup truck. So this is a TMP vehicle, and it's a replacement truck that is going to be used for TMP supervisor, Amy Tabor, who's in charge of traffic signals. The existing truck will be put basically in the yard and be used for surplus and for parts. And then when we've stripped the parts and or the life of the truck is expired, we will auction the truck off. So it's not immediately leaving Norwalk. The existing truck that Ms. Tabor is using, we're going to keep that for spare parts and surplus. So this is a TMP truck.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Yosak is on the line. Mike, would you like to add anything to that?
I think Anthony covered everything. Unless you have any additional questions, the truck that she has been using has been in the garage more than it's been on the road, so it's just not cost effective to keep it running. So that's the reason for the replacement.
And just to give a little added history on this, Mr. Keegan, you're next. Just for a little added history, we did move some money around in the budget. We took some other things away from traffic and mobility because this truck was specifically requested because of the age of the one that's going to be replaced. Mr. Keegan.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Was there any thought to buying a hybrid? I think they do make a hybrid at the F-250 range.
That I don't know. I think it was a decision of the fleet maintenance that this was the better option.
Yeah, Councilman Keegan, we looked into that. Right now, we have 11 pool cars that we switched over from nine traditional hybrids and 2 plug-in electric hybrids. But for now, we want to just stick with the vehicles, aka SUVs or passenger cars. The trucks typically, they do come in hybrid, but there's a little bit more to it as far as our operations. Sometimes they tend not to be as powerful. There can be other issues. So we're kind of doing the crawl, walk, run. So we've replaced some of the pool cars with the hybrids and plug-in hybrids, and we are looking at the trucks in the future. But personally, in my experience on White Plains, they've been a lot more problems when you start introducing the hybrids into the fleet. Anything higher, when I say fleet, anything more robust than a passenger SUV for snow plowing. And Chris, by all means, please again feel free to jump in. But it's something we'll look into, but we're waiting for the technology to catch up to the application. So yes, they do exist, but for now, for internal reasons, the hybrids weren't looked at for equipment.
Thank you.
Just to echo what Anthony said, is our supervisors do have plows on their trucks in the wintertime, and they don't make something powerful enough to plow snow that's in a hybrid or a hybrid electric vehicle. So all of the city's F-250s have snow plows, so we can respond quicker to winter operations, including TMP.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Okay, seems unanimous. Let's see. Item number 6. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all necessary documents for local transportation capital improvement program, LOTCIP, grant state project L102-0004-East Wall Street - Landmark Square Safety, Accessibility and Streetscape Improvement Project. Would anybody like to move the item? Thank you, Mr. Keegan. Before I pass this off to Anthony, once again, a little while back, everybody should have gotten an email from Anthony. This is the grant that was awarded to us. Anthony's going to tell you a little bit more about it. Anthony or Vanessa, whoever wants.
Kevin, I'll introduce it, and Vanessa and Paul, if you'd like to add in, please. So this grant is in the amount. It's a LOTCIP grant, right? So it's administered. We work through CONDOT, but it's administered through WestCog. The amount awarded was $1.516 million, and this is for a Wall Street streetscape improvement. So they say Wall Street at Landmark Square, but it's located between Brook and Main. The project is about 500 feet in length, and it'll include various site improvements and right-of-way improvements, everything from curb and sidewalk and lighting, decorative concrete pavers, traffic bump potentially, pavement markings, new striping, new drainage, and other traffic controls that I know that the staff could speak about. But this basically what this item is, it's to allow the mayor to accept the commitment to fund. So in the packet under this item, there's a letter from CONDOT that's addressed to the mayor. And along the way, once CONDOT receives an executed letter from the mayor to commit, then they know that the municipality will be locked in to meet the requirements of CONDOT. And Vanessa and Paul, if you want to speak to that, but we'll have to issue contract documents. The project will have to be noticed and advertised the way CONDOT requires. So basically, it's the mayor acknowledging that yes, we accept the money and we will do what is required by CONDOT and WestCog to fulfill our obligation. And this, a little bit more background, this project, assuming the state doesn't lag on the schedule, we most likely could have construction bid documents out next spring and hopefully start construction in the summertime. At this point, we can't say if it's going to be early or late summer, but summer of 2021, we expect for the work to progress.
I don't know if Paul I just want to add that we're doing all the design in-house and Paul is leading this project. So I'll pass to him so he can say a little more things about the project. I just need to do a correction about the schedule, Anthony, because there was a delay on when we got this letter. We are actually more seeing that the beginning of the construction may start more towards like a late summer because we need some approvals to happen.
Thank you.
Our goal is to basically have this up to WestCog for approval. They have to review the final plans. We want to get that to them by the beginning of February. That usually takes a month or so. Then once they approve it, we can send it back up to DOT for their final approval, get any comments back, address the comments. Then hopefully by looking at May, have it ready to go out to bid, and then get construction documents executed. And as Vanessa said, it's probably going to be more toward late summer if everything falls into place. I had sent the schedule up to Kevin Mahoney from WestCog this morning, and when we laid out the schedule that we've got here, he basically said that it's an aggressive schedule, but it's doable, but it is aggressive. So that's what we're looking to do, and the construction would probably be completed. Right now, our goal would be to have it completed by the end of June on 2022. It's a 6-month or so project, and with the winter shutdown of 3 months, it would put us about that timeline.
And Paul, can you just give a little bit of background too about the difference between, you know, LASIP and CONDOT and WestCog, so that the committee can understand how we got the money and whose requirements we have to adhere to?
The Western Connecticut Council of Governments basically put this grant out for municipalities to apply for, and we applied for it, and we received the funding commitment from WestCog. But once that is agreed to, then you have to go to the next step, and step 2 is to put a package together for an application for what they call a LOTSIP application from DOT. And once that's put together, you submit your plans, get any comments back, and we've been doing that over the last year or so, back and forth with them a couple of times. And when they're happy at that point, then you'll get a letter of commitment, and that's the letter that's in the package that we're asking for authorization to have the mayor execute. Usually they do that around 30% design. We're further along than that now, a lot further along. So we should be able to meet the deadline of submitting it on time. It's just whether or not WestCog and DOT can turn that around. And even in the schedule, we gave them a couple of months to do their reviews and get it back to us, but it's kind of at the mercy of when DOT gets back to you and approves it.
Mr. Livingston.
Yeah, thank you. First off, I think it's great job, guys, getting this grant. I think that's terrific. Do you have, maybe this is for you, Paul, you said you've done a lot of work on the design. Do you have any schematics you can share with us now as to what, or description of exactly what it's going to look like?
I do have full plans, and we presented those at the public information meeting about, it was actually the end of October last year, but I do have them. I've got the layouts of it. We've got the lane widths all configured and everything. We've done all of that work so far. We've got the sidewalk bump outs, the historic street lights, where we're going to put those. So we're further along in the design, but I do have drawings that we can share. Yes.
Can you share anything now, or can you send it around afterwards?
At this point, I've got an iPad here, and I don't have that with me at home, but I can share them with you. I can email a copy to people if you'd like tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be true. I'd like to see it. Thank you.
That's a great idea, Paul. Let's pass it on to the whole council too, so they can see it. And once again, just to refresh everybody's memory, this grant is in excess of $1.5 million, correct, Paul?
Correct. 1.568.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. I'd just like to say also, great job by your department for applying for this grant and actually having it come through. I think Wall Street's going to benefit from it greatly, especially with everything that's going to be going on down there construction-wise. All in favor? All right, great. Any abstentions? All right, seems to pass unanimous. I will move items, well, actually, I'm going to read items 7, 7A, and 7B all together because it's a technical correction. So everybody, you have a break for a second. Technical correction of the Common Council action of September 8th, 2020, items 7A, 5A, and 7A, 5B. To add account designated for project DRG 2020-1 on-call drainage improvements at various locations. Account number noted. 7A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement between the city of Norwalk and M. Rondano, Inc. for project DRG 2020-1 on-call drainage improvements at various locations for a sum not to exceed $954,320. Accounts noted. 7B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on the contract with M. Rondano, Inc. for project DRG 2020-1 on-call drainage improvements at various locations for a sum not to exceed $95,500. Accounts noted. Would anybody like to move the item? Thank you, Ms. Smith. I guess, Anthony?
George, may I want to apologize because I have to take the blame on this one. It was my fault. I totally missed this account last month. After we listed everything, I forgot really to put the one that we had some money on. So it was my fault. I forgot to list that one. That's why we had to come back.
All right, well, let's not ever do that again, Vanessa. Just kidding.
I'll try.
Everybody makes mistakes. So again, this is something that we've already approved. It's just a technical correction with an account addition. If anybody would like to add and ask any questions, now's your time. Okay, seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor? And unanimous. Thank you. Again, don't ever do that again, Vanessa. Item number 8. Authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Gabrielli Truck Sales of Milford for the purchase of one 2020 Mack GR42FR plow truck for a sum not to exceed $231,864. Accounts noted. Would anybody like to move the item? Thank you, Mr. Livingston. Are there any questions? Okay, once again.
Yeah, well, I have one question. Does somebody really go through with Mac and go through every detail that's in this technical specification? I mean, it's just crazy.
Yes.
Mr. Torrey and our fleet services manager, Joel Grant, absolutely do.
I should have known, Chris. Great job. Wow.
Well done.
Well, I was going to question that extra oil thing you got on the engine electronics, but I won't now.
So Tom, next time that you're in the market to buy a car, you know who you should
gonna call.
call for advice.
Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, once again, like everything else, Chris could add to it. We hold on to these trucks, we use them as long as possible. We take whatever spare parts we can from them, and then whatever is left after that, we auction off. So even though it seems like a lot of money, we do get every dollar we possibly can out of it. All right, all in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item number 9, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Gabrielli Truck Sales of Milford for the purchase of 3 2021 F550 chassis and regular cab for a sum not to exceed $180,381. Account noted. Would anybody like to move the item? All right, thank you, thank you, Mr. Keegan. Change it up a little bit here. Once again, can you just, Anthony, tell us what the truck's going to be used for? We know the other one, plow truck. This is
absolutely. So, and again, if I omit anything, Chris, please add. But these trucks will be replacing 3 older F550s, so they're not new purchases. It's part of a very, very well thought out rolling stock program that Chris and the fleet services manager work on. It was approved under the capital budget. So, during the capital budget phase, Chris and I do submit as part of the capital project backup for fleet replacement. We do submit a rolling stock program, so it shows exactly in detail what trucks and equipment are projected to be replaced over the few years. So these aren't it's not throwing a dart at the board saying, oh, they look old, we should probably replace them. But these trucks are at least 10 plus years old. Again, they're replacing 3 existing trucks that were previously approved, and like Mr. Chairman said earlier, the parts will be used for surplus and then eventually auctioned. So they're not going right to the auction show. They actually have some value for us now. That'll be determined by how many parts we need. And these trucks will the type of equipment and type of work that the foremen supervise. They'll oversee masons, masonry work, pothole repair, curbing. So just to give you an idea of the type of work that this vehicle will employ. Chris, if I missed anything, please feel free to add.
Yeah, we keep the older trucks as long as we could, believe it or not. Even 10 years ago, the hydraulics are still the same, the tires are still the same. A lot of the parts we recycle, and we actually don't auction them off, these trucks. We actually scrap them. Like, we have used all the living life out of them before we get rid of them. And they do potholes, and it's much easier for our guys to work off a smaller truck to do pothole repair and curbing and topsoil and all that kind of work without working off a six-wheel heavy-duty dump truck.
Thank you. All in favor? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you. Item number 9, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute the first amendment of the contract with WSP USA Inc. for the state project 102-360 traffic signal upgrade and installation of dynamic message system for an amount not to exceed $20,800, accounts noted. Would anybody like to move the item? Thank you, Mr. Keegan. All right, are there any questions? Mr. Livingston.
Yeah, I just like a better description of what exactly this is.
Sure, Tom, I can help you with that. This is phase 4 of our traffic signal project. There are a couple changes that came up during the design that weren't covered in the original design. There's some additional mast arms that have to be analyzed to put signage on, because each mast arm the signs have to be designed for each mast arm to make sure that the existing mast arm could support the weights.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mike. When you say signs, what type of signs? Are these street signs? Or what are we talking about?
No, these are LED blank out signs. So they're basically about 2 feet by 4 feet, and they have you can program various messages in them. So they're for our diversionary routes, and sometimes they'll say like no left turn or you know, I-95 straight ahead. So different messages pre-programmed in there. So when there's an incident on the highway and we have to detour traffic, we can get the traffic through the town and out of the town as quickly as possible, and not hamper, you know, individual residents and keep the traffic moving and on the route.
Yeah, so let me ask you something, because this is near and dear to my heart. I'm looking at task 1 under the supplemental work order, and it says you're changing the proposed on-street parking require a shift in the centerline pavement marking from 11 feet to 19 feet. The centerline pavement. So what is it now? I mean, I'm just confused by that. Just having gone through street markings and relating, I'm looking at. Yeah.
That what they're looking at is the intersection of East Avenue and St. John Street. What we'd like to do is get two lanes in there. So they were looking at the as you're coming out. So they were looking at rearranging the center line striping to accommodate that.
But you're not widening the road, right?
No, that we would be keeping it within the existing footprint of the road.
So you're taking the lane from the other side.
That's correct.
Okay.
So can I just add a little bit that, Tom? So the widening of East Avenue stops at the corner of Fitch, you know, under the East Avenue roadway improvements project. The traffic signal phase 4 will take care of another signal that is at the corner of John's place. So what happened is that with that, we have the opportunity now to realign that center line so we'll work better with the whole design. WSP is also the one that is designing some of the traffic under the walk bridge program for the traffic on that stretch of the road also. So they have a full picture of what will happen on East Avenue.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sorry, Barbara.
So what do the 2 additional on-street parking spaces on St. John's Street do? Like how does that affect this project? Why are they needed?
As you're coming out of actually that's as you're coming out there, the Mike's Deli is on the corner there. The cars are always parking there. Creating, so what we like to do is get them identified parking spaces so it doesn't block the traffic as they're coming out.
Okay, I see. And so it'll be right along the deli or?
Yeah, yes, along that side, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, that ends all of new business. On to information and discussion. Discussion, number 1, project status for Dreamy Hollow Drainage System Improvement Updates. I know we've had quite a bit going on there, so Anthony, if you want to bring us up.
Sure. So currently, our consultant, Woodin & Curran, is performing survey work, field survey work, and also working with engineering to obtain record mapping and utilities plans to help them put together a comprehensive survey, which is known as existing conditions. Those existing condition plans or survey are then used for the design work. So currently, Woodin & Curran, they're about halfway done with their field work. They're now requesting a little bit more of the record mapping, so engineering is going to assist in a greater capacity to get them the information they need. They anticipate having their survey work completed by the winter, finish the design through the winter, and hopefully we will be releasing construction bid documents by late spring, early summer of 2021 for the Friendly Pond drainage improvements, which right now they're estimated at $3.1 million capital cost. However, the consultant believes that that number will be refined and even drop a little bit, especially if it's bid during the right time and or contractors are more competitive. So we anticipate that project to go out. And again, that project is a Friendly Pond drainage improvements. So as part of that project, there'll be new storm piping configurations on Saddle, CZ Way, a couple of the streets. The pond will be partially dredged out, and there'll be a new outfall pipe that leaves from, I believe, Friendly Pond to Dry Hole Road. So there's a multitude of improvements that will be going on. So it's kind of multi-pronged, but they'll all be done at the same time. And we anticipate most of the work will be done by the end of calendar year 2021. Whatever is not done would spill over and be completed in spring of 2022. It's not a multi-phased project. There's just a lot of different components that are within that one project. So we anticipate probably 6 months construction time. So if they do start late summer, early fall, that would almost definitely push them into the spring of 2022. But again, that project is to alleviate flooding conditions in approximately 40 homes. I forgot the exact number from the report, but Woodin & Curran's doing a fantastic job. So is engineering feeding them the information. I know operations is involved too with some of the storm reconnaissance for the team. So far so good. We're tracking on schedule and tracking on, most importantly, tracking on budget.
Great. Anybody have any questions regarding the drainage? Okay. Well, again, I know the residents there are happy with what's going on. Even with the last couple of storms, there haven't been any more flooding issues over there, even though we're not 100% complete with the work, or even most of the way completed with the work, which is, it's a track in the right direction. It's good. Item 1B, paving, curbs, and sidewalk construction update.
Yes, just to give a little background to where I was with the paving. Last time we met, we reported that we had approximately 9 centerline miles of roads paved. We are now to approximately 15, and we're on pace to finish at around maybe between 18 and 20 centerline miles. And when I say a centerline mile, As you know, roads could have many different lanes in each direction, but the center line is, if you look at a map and you draw a line right down the middle of the street, that's how many feet and miles that we've paved. To give you an idea, we have far surpassed our progress from last year, which I believe is in the 10 to 12 centerline mile range. And we are doing significantly more than our neighboring communities, such as Stamford, Greenwich, et cetera, probably because we have a very robust budget. So kudos to the administration, to Common Council for investing so much into the roads. That's usually the last thing that people invest in, and it's obviously one of them at the forefront of a lot of different items. And it's the one thing to get neglected, and it's a dog chasing its tail. So for paving, we're wrapping up in the 1st through 5th Street area. There's a lot of other roads in various sections that are now getting milled and will be repaved. And Deering Construction has almost fulfilled their current contract, which will end at the end of this calendar year, most likely when the weather turns and they can't pave anymore. So for sidewalks and curb too, we are working in the 1st through 5th Street area, Cove Avenue area. 2nd Street, we had to hold off on because of a sanitary sewer issue that we have to resolve. But 1st through 5th, including Cove, that sidewalk and curb has been completed. The residents there are very happy. Of course, there was a lot of questions at times during construction, but the field staff and engineering staff, myself, addressed the questions and concerns, all of which were valid. And again, we have no issues if anybody has a concern, because sometimes there is something that we need to go back and check on. The Woodward Avenue sidewalk, we're currently working between Neptune and Lawrence. And I believe between Neptune and Lawrence, we have 70% of the concrete curb on the west side poured and formed. We have 40% of the concrete sidewalk complete and 50% of the drainage improvements, which again, for the Woodward Avenue sidewalk, it wasn't just curb and sidewalk. There was actually drainage work that needed to get done now before we move on to paving in the future and the current sidewalk work. Overall, the project is about 20% complete, and Grasso Companies is making excellent progress. They've been a pleasure to work with. I know there was concerns in the past. Vanessa and Paul, anybody else you want to speak to, that's fine, Drew. But Grasso has really come out of the gate swinging, and we anticipate at this pace, with no inclement weather and no unforeseen delays, they could finish most, if not all, of the work before the construction season shut down, which is typically early to mid-December, depending on weather and asphalt plants being opened or concrete plants.
So the approach that we're taking there at Woodward, we start on the west side. We put the curbs and we do the sidewalk on the west side. So we go from one street to the next one, and then we come south on the other end. So this way we can try to get a whole stretch done on both sides. We are not sure if we can get all the way to the end, but definitely 2/3 will be finished by the end of the construction season.
Thank you, Vanessa. That's great. It's good to see the progress down there. I was down there the other day, and it's definitely heading in the right direction. So, all right. Is there any questions? Seeing none. All right. I guess we'll move on to item number C, food scrap collection compost program update. I know this program hit the ground running. It's been very successful in both locations, Royan and the transfer station. We have Jessica Palladino with us tonight. She could probably tell us a little bit more about it, or Anthony, or whoever wants to talk about it. Feel free.
Sure. I'll just start off with to date, since the city took this over as citywide on July 1st, it's been very successful. Both of the transfer station and Rowayton. I know that Jessica had given an interview and provided some comments to the hour today. They wanted to know more about the program. I know Councilwoman Shanahan had reached out to one of the reporters there, Erin, to cover the story and suggest that she look into it further. It's definitely a great program for a pilot program. It's very successful. We hope that it continues to move at this pace. Just to give some quick numbers, since we started this program in July of 2020 as citywide, which is transfer station and Rowayton, the two locations that you currently can transfer and bring your compost to, we have collected approximately 10 tons, so almost 20,000 pounds. So that is impressive. There's a big demand for it in Rowayton, and it's actually pretty positive reaction too for the rest of the city in the transfer station. So we hope that this program continues to grow. As it grows, as you know, the operating and capital budget season is upon us. So as it grows, and since it's had good success, we will certainly request additional funds if we need to increase the number of pickups, or maybe we want to expand to a third location at some point. But that's more to follow. And so far, we're very pleased with the progress.
Chairman, if I can just echo comments I made before, which is I think Jessica and Anthony and the team have done an amazing job with this. I mean, I've gone over Rowayton pickup or drop off is every Wednesday morning to I think 1 o'clock, not 8:30 to 1 o'clock, and I've gone over at 9:30, and it's often almost full. I mean, six or eight bins. Jessica, I can't remember which it is, but it's very popular, very great program. A lot of good buzz going on about it, so I really appreciate your efforts.
The community center has 8 bins, Tom.
Yeah, and they fill every week, I believe.
Yep. Yep.
And the transfer station has 3 bins, correct?
4. We expanded
4.
to 4. Mm-hmm.
So there it goes. That's a very good telltale sign that the program is definitely launching. So we definitely take a look at increasing the operating budget within the confines that we can do so to allow the program to grow. So
Yep.
thank you, Chris, and thank you, Jessica.
We've also sold approximately 75 of the compost starter kits, and we have approximately 250 we ordered for the whole program. So we have quite a few more. If residents are looking to get them, they can email composting@norwalkct.org to request them.
Well, again, that's great. The feedback's been fantastic. The turnout's been wonderful. So good to see that happening. All right, on to the next. Item B, monthly solid waste report.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, there's not much to note other than if you look at the statistics on the report, interestingly enough, the curbside tonnage has increased from the same time last year, or August of last year to this year. There's a 7.5% increase, and the MSW, or garbage, total out from the city has increased about 10.6% from the same time last year between August of 2019 and August of 2020. What's interesting is that at the start of COVID, as we all expected and have discussed before, these numbers were in the 20 to 30% range. So they're starting to reduce by factors of 2 to 3. And it's also important to note too that the change in total monthly tonnage and actually from last year for recycling has gone up again compared to August 2019 to 2020, 3.9%, and the curbside tonnage has increased 6.2%. So it's nice to see that there's additional recycling, which again may be a factor of COVID, or people just being more mindful of sustainable waste management.
All right.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anything else you want to add to that? Or I think it's pretty covered, well covered. It's good to see it's starting to go down a little bit, and hopefully it'll continue to. But, all right, any questions or anyone from the committee? Okay, seeing none. And the last part, personnel. With the recent package that just went out from the mayor's office, I know we've lost a couple of key people from several departments. I might have a couple of questions, but I think Anthony will bring us up to speed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So to keep it, high level, out of a department of approximately 105, not including WPCA, or obviously Suez is the contract operator. Just looking at operations, recreation, and parks and engineering, we'll be losing about 14 to 15% of the workforce through retirements and/or resignations. But to give you a further breakdown, just looking at operations, we have 5 retirements. 5 in recreation and parks, we have 5 retirements, and in engineering, we have 2 retirements and 3 resignations. So that's 15 staff, roughly 105, which gives you your 14 to 15% reduction. I mean, if you wanted to count different things, it's at least a 10% reduction, just at a high level of the overall department. But notably too, of those operation staff that we're losing, you're looking at laborers, you're looking at drivers, you're looking at equipment operators. You're also looking in recreation and parks, you're looking at a tradesman. You're also looking at laborers, drivers, equipment operators. Those are the maintainer 1, 2, and 3 positions that you see. 1 is a laborer, a 2 is a driver, and a 3 is an equipment operator. And in engineering too, within the 5 that we're losing, again, we have 2 retirements. Before I turn it over to Vanessa to further discuss, They are very valued employees. One of them is our in-house land surveyor, which, if you remember, we've asked for additional funding to outsource on-call surveying services. So fortunately, there was a succession plan. The current licensed land surveyor has been working closely with one of our junior engineers to basically train him over the last 2 years. So that's definitely kudos to Vanessa and her staff for the forward thinking. It's actually a great plan. But in engineering, we're losing 2 assistant engineers, both are here about 30 years, give or take. And then we have 3 resignations. Of those 3 resignations, there's 2 junior engineers and 1 permit engineer. And of those 2 junior engineers, one of them is an assistant permit engineer. So we really have no one in our permitting group right now. And of the 5 engineering staff that we're losing, that's 5 of 14 technical staff. So that's 35% of our engineering staff. That overall, the number looks lower, but when you look at it by division, the engineering is losing at least 1/3 of its staff.
Anthony, if I could, so are the resignations coincidental with the retirement plan? I mean, is there something unique about those that we should know about?
No, the resignations were other job opportunities.
Is that something of concern in terms of what we pay people?
Yes, Tom. And now the market is very hard for engineering. So the 3 people that left us is going for better opportunities. Also, we know that even we are hearing from our consultants that recently one is stealing from others, you know, so it is a hard market now for civil engineering. So we're just, unfortunately, we cannot offer anything else, and 2 out of those 3 is not anymore entitled to the pension plan. So usually when we have all those benefits and the pension was a big weight that would hold them, but we don't have that anymore.
Right. I mean, I know we've had trouble in the past getting the junior engineers. So are you guys speaking with Ray about salary ranges and all that stuff?
We haven't started any further discussion yet because, you know, we have the whole staff throughout the city that they start a lot of discussions about that with the retirees, but we have a plan that we're going to start moving forward and present to them. But the reason that we want to share that is that we do not know how we can fill these positions, meaning how quick because of the market. So we just want to share with you that we are trying our best to still, we have a load of work, as you guys can see with all the numbers that we're bringing and all the work that we've been doing. There is a case that we may need to outsource a couple of bodies for the beginning of next construction season. Then we may need to put together if we're not in the position to fill those positions by then. So that's why we want to make this as a discussion item so you guys is aware. So this Friday we lose 3. We lost 1 last Friday, another 3 this Friday, and the last person will leave by the end of the month.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing that up to us, because I think it's important for the rest of the council to know and understand that your department runs on thin, is already running thin as is. As Tom knows, because he's been on for a long time, we're constantly outsourcing a lot of these engineering and surveying jobs that we could be doing in-house. So maybe it is time to bring it up a little bit more with Ray and see what we can do and what we can offer more to get some of these positions filled and keep them. Is there any other, Ms. Smith?
I'd just like to add to that because, you know, I know that this has been an issue and, you know, Anthony, you and I have talked about it. And, you know, I think that, you know, we really need to dig in and do whatever we need to do to get good engineers, junior engineers, and keep them. One question I do have, and I know that, you know, the mayor will be, you know, he's meeting with, and, you know, the whole staff is meeting. Do you see any places where, you know, some positions might not be necessarily, you know, might not need to be filled, where the funds could be allocated to other positions, where you really feel like everything is bare bones and you need to fill all those positions?
So Barb, I've had a meeting at the chief level with Leisha King, Ray Burney, and Henry last Wednesday, and we have another meeting tomorrow now with the department chief and the department heads. So Vanessa, Chris Torrey, and Nick Roberts will be joining myself via Zoom with the others tomorrow at 1 o'clock to kind of go over the plans that we have. So in last week's discussion, we identified a lot of cost savings and efficiencies that could be realized by the city just by simple promotions and lateral transfers. And what I mean by that is the people who are resigning and or retiring, you now could promote those junior engineers up to potentially to those positions, and they start out at a much lower step in that grade than the people who were previous in those positions. On the operations side too, there might be several operations folks who are just as important that may be interested in parks jobs. So Mr. Torrey is now tasked with, okay, who's going to go? And now, of course, there's intel of who may and may not, and that's obviously a personal decision on the employee's part. But what's going to happen is people are going to transfer from parks to operations to parks, and with that creates a whole daisy chain of they move out, others move up. But now when they move up to those positions, they're at a lower step. Then when you hire at those lower positions from that daisy chain effect, you're bringing those people into a lower step. So that's where the chief of staff and the CFO and the chief of personnel have calculated where the bulk of our savings would be. There's a position or two that we're in the midst of discussions that may be eliminated again, but that's not for sure. But the most of our savings will be acquired from hiring at lower positions for lower grades at lower salaries, and people promoting up and then starting out at a lower pay scale. And they have those numbers. I know they're working on those numbers with the mayor, but those are the plans that we presented. And after tomorrow, we'll have much more of an idea. But no, of course, the department heads, and I agree, we're at the meat. I mean, we're at the bone. There's not much more fat to trim off. And, responsibilities only increase for Chris, Nick, and Vanessa. There's just constantly more demands, constantly more requests. And we do want to maintain that A+ level of service that we strive for. But we're not asking for anything extra per se. We're just really asking to keep what we had.
Yeah, we need definitely all the bodies that we're losing. And I know that Chris is the same, and the same with Nick. Just to have an idea, we have a list of all the projects that we do that are in different phases, from design, construction, closeout, and we are at 102 projects as of now. So.
And now even looking at the operations side, I mean, Chris, he knows that now wintertime's coming. So once we figure out who's vacating, who's transferring out of operations, who's going to parks, who's not, whatever that daisy chain lends itself to be is going to result in new hires, which is good. So that's the labor position, right? That's a grade 3 step 1. Then now you're seeing all the savings from all the deltas from people leaving, but now that person needs to be trained, right? As we approach snowplow season and snow season. Hopefully it's a mild winter, but there's a lot coming up on our backs, and I think that the department heads have identified the resources and the needs, but we're working with the administration to figure out, okay, here's where we could save money, here's what we can do. Maybe it's not a job elimination, maybe it's just a result of promotions and transfers and hiring at lower levels. So we're working with that first, but if there is a position or two that we have to eliminate, then we have some solutions how we could work with the administration to do that.
I just want to add that Public Works covers a wide gambit from the engineering design part all the way down to the labor construction part. And with storms that we recently had, you can see the importance of the labor part of it also, because again, as bad as it was, and as many people as were out for probably a longer period of time than they would have liked to have been. And obviously we didn't want to be out that long. It helped having the people around, the manpower around to get a lot of the work done. Again, I feel like it does get a little expensive also when we have to outsource a lot of this, a lot of the work that we do. When we could have somebody in-house doing it, it'd probably be a little bit more efficient and a little faster. But it's something that we'll definitely keep in mind and discuss with the mayor's office and personnel. Hi, Barb.
I got you back.
All right, if there's anything else or. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. It's nice to have a reasonable meeting that doesn't run on until about 9:30. If there's no other business or no other comments, would anybody like to make the motion? All right, thank you, Mr. Livingston. Motion to adjourn. We're all set. Thank you very much. Next meeting will be Tuesday, November 3rd. I'll see everybody else before then.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Take care. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Good
nice night.
night.